Hi again, YouTube. I was just kind of being reminded somehow of a really interesting occurrence. Uh, I'll call it a glamour, even though it wasn't physical. I couldn't visually observe the effect, but it may have been so powerful that I could have visually seen it. It was extremely intense. This is something that happened maybe about 7, maybe almost 8 months ago. One of our friends was temporarily helping us with a really complicated mess of dramas. And so this friend was actually living with us for that time. And so she and I that same day had been sitting together talking while we watched, I don't remember, something on YouTube or something on the smart TV. I don't remember what it was. And I don't think, honestly, I don't think that was a factor. I don't think that the TV itself or the TV show or, the movie or whatever we were watching, I don't think that was a factor. But it just happened that after we had been talking for a little while, I had to use the toilet. And so I went into the other room and I was just in there, doing my business. And then somehow, and it was extremely powerful, extremely, even so realistic that I would have seen it visually if I had been outside. But I wasn't outside, I was in the toilet. And it was the kind of a thing that would confuse my thoughts. And so at the time, I had been convinced I was thinking in the same conversation that our friend and I were having. And so I thought in my head that we were simply silently thinking similarly into that same conversation while I was in the toilet. And so I was finishing my, personal stuff. And then while I was in front of the mirror, actually, and it didn't really have anything to do with the mirror. There was nothing that I was seeing except for just regular, normal stuff in that way. But the thinking was that we were still, I guess you could call it brainstorming. And I thought that it was our friend that I was communicating with. And it was so convincing that I really truly believed that it was our friend that I was silently communicating with. And it lasted, I would say, about maybe 40 seconds, almost a whole minute, before I had a very, very gentle, very, very subtle influence from Jesus telling me to very, very discreetly, very calmly separate, but gently. And so I did exactly as best as I could that. And it was terrifying. I'm not going to lie. That presence, whatever it was, turned out to be something not of our household. And I think that if I had been outside, I would have visually observed an actual someone. And I don't know who it was. I just know that this someone was so powerful that I was convinced that I was mentally, continuing in conversation with our friend. And it only took maybe, I would say, about 20 seconds of my very, very calm separating from that influence for the reality to be revealed. And then I almost heard audibly screaming of excruciating disappointment and anger and rage about my choice to not be in that conversation. It was extremely powerful, very overwhelming. And it wasn't necessarily that I was afraid for my physical safety, but had I not been influenced by Jesus, it easily could have become a dangerous situation. I'm totally convinced. And I don't know who it was. I don't know who was doing that. I don't know if it was a supernatural being or a human with that power. I do not know. All I know was that it was extremely intense. And I had been thoroughly convinced that it was my friend. And I've been, we had sat down together after that, and I was telling her, I was like, oh my gosh, you would not believe what I was experiencing. It was, I don't know, it's not unlike things from my past. I have experience with things that are supernatural. It's just that every once in a while I kind of I don't know what the right word is for it. I almost want to say exhausted. Like, oh God, why bother if all these other times that you've tried to do something like that, it didn't work. But for whatever reason, there's a stubborn or ignorant determination. And so it just keeps continuing, and it's not healthy, but that's just the way it is. So that's basically the memory that I was having I don't even know who started it. I don't know who wanted me to remember that stuff tonight, but that was the powerful memory of the evening that I'm now mentioning. I pray in the name of Jesus, y'all, that each and every one of us has his wisdom, and that we accept that he is the power that we need. In the name of Jesus, thy will be done.